Okay, so this is a part 3, and what we're going to look at this time is what if you got a generation like this one and you want to put a tank in here or maybe some people running towards you. Pretty hard to prompt, because by the time you've prompted this monster here, you'll not really get very good people. If you describe the people a lot, your monster mech tank will go worse, and by the time you've done the mech tank, the people will go worse. So the way to go around it is, of course, to inpaint. So what I do is I inpaint in between this generation to produce the background, and this lot here, which will hopefully make sense of it. Well, you'll make sense of it as you see me do it. Now I've got a sort of vehicle in here, but I don't think it works. So what I use is a transparent PNG with a transparency. If you put an ordinary image here and open in Mask Editor, you can paint your mask in just the same. It's fine. The only thing you'll have to do is to disable the invert mask, because for some reason PNGs have their masks the other way around. Don't blame me, I didn't organise it. So I don't think I want a vehicle in there. I think I want some close-up people. So what we'll do, we'll get some close-up people, and making PNGs with transparencies is easy. You can do it in Photoshop. So if I cue that, there you go, my people will appear in here. And I can move them around, here we go, with this. So with the image composite mask, there we go. So they're pretty good there, and I can move them left to right. Need to go a little bit further down. There you go. The set of soldiers in there. Now, I mean, obviously they're in there pretty crudely at the moment. I might move them a bit more to the left. Yeah, I think that's better. So there we go. They're in. It is really that simple. With this workflow, you can change the size, change the scale. So if I wanted them smaller, I don't, but I can. That was 65. But see, they got smaller. That was 65. 65 looked about right to me. So essentially you can scale them and stick them anywhere you want. Anything. Doesn't have to be people. Can be anything. Right, so they already look pretty good. So they should refine fairly well. Now, you now hit the problem. There's always a problem. That your prompt here is all about mechs and nothing about soldiers. So we'll have to make an adjusted prompt. First of all, we make sure this image is being sent through to the layer stack here. We covered layer stacks in part 2. So if you don't know what a layer stack is, then go back and find out. So this image is being piped across there. As I've said before, click on it, follow the white line. There you go. I was testing it, so it's already in there. Which is straightforward enough. That's cut this out of the sequence completely, so that won't rerun. So you do need to add a new bit of conditioning. So what I'm just going to put something very simple. I'm going to put soldiers. I'm going to put soldiers in the foreground. So it's the same prompt. I've just put the soldiers there. Now I might need to upgrade the soldiers further up the prompt, but I think that'll probably be enough. As long as it knows there's soldiers there, it should work fine. Well, we'll see. It may work fine. It may not. So we'll run that, and we're doing about 50 denoise. We'll do 50 denoise on these. The higher the denoise, the more it'll merge them in. You can see the one I did here previously, that this is what it was, and you can see how it put the shadows in. So you see on the render here, it's put the shadows in and fitted them in nicely. But these are new people, and more foreground people are more difficult. And this probably won't do the job in one, but we'll follow it through and you'll see how that works out. So that was pretty quick. And there we have our soldiers. They're already pretty good there, aren't they? You can see how it's merged them all in. And it's revamped the lighting on them as well, which is rather good. Here's a less good one. And again, here you can choose the guys you want to drop in. And there's minimal changes to the monster thing here. We'll get a bit of changes on the legs, but I think they're going to be absolutely fine. Don't like him much. So look at what the third one was like. Hey, they're all walking the other way. Well, they're walking both ways at the same time. So maybe I'll run this at a bit higher, see if we get lucky. I always think I'm going to get lucky. Didn't get lucky that time. We've already got one that's good anyway, but it's nice to have a few choices. That's probably a bit high on the denoise. We'll go down to 55. And again, as always with Flux, it's just a matter of finding a good seed. They're heading away. I don't mind them heading away, actually. That's quite nice. But I don't know what all this junk is over here. They're quite nice. But again, they're turned around one way and both ways there, so I don't think that really works. I think maybe there's not enough contrast in the image, so we can go back and correct that and see if we get any luckier. So we'll turn that off, and we can adjust the contrast and so on here, so I can increase the contrast and make it a bit clearer that those are faces there. I think that should be alright. Let's run that and see what happens anyway. So you can adjust their colour and so forth to make them fit in a bit. Let's run that through again. We'll probably lose our good one now, just to annoy me. Actually, that's given it just enough information to turn them around. They've got horrid faces and so on, but we're not too worried about that yet. And that time we've got them all facing the right way. And again, this one looks the best. So I think I'm just going to use this one for the purposes. So what you do, go into Mask Editor. Again, follow edges if you can. Just loop round them, because we've got fill holes turned on with the masker. And we'll just go and watch that change. So there's our new people in there. And we can quickly look and see if any of these are better. I think he's better, don't you? Yeah, I think he's better. He might be tricky to drop in though. I think I'll leave it with him, because we've still got the refine and we have more possibilities as well. Okay, so we'll send that off to the refine. Now, here again, we need this conditioning here to go in. So what we could do, we run the conditioning across with yet another reroute. Reroutes are wonderful things. So this is the conditioning from here, and that needs to go into the Flux guidance here. We can just drop that down into there. And this little module here, you just move this around, so you can make a new prompt for any section, really. So that's got the whole prompt in there. So we'll see what it does. There we go. So that's the refine, and look at how it comes out. Very good. But we might want them a bit more refined than that. So what we can do is send them off down here, which is this one. Follow the white line. Yeah, that's the one going in. And we can make this active and then just crop out our people. So we're going to need to be 768 high, probably 102 for wide, and we just need to move that up a bit. It's going to have to be wider. I only really want to do the faces, and I'm not too worried about the guns. We might have to be a bit wider. Yep, maybe 1280 wider. There we go. Now, yet again, we need a different prompt, because, get a bit across, because this is now all about the blokes. It's all about the... So what we need to do is we have another prompt box here, and what we can say is 3 Marines and cautiously advancing. And that is probably enough. It would be better spell, couldn't it? Yeah. We can try it with that anyway. So I only want to go 1.5 times bigger on the render. We go 1.5 in that, and this was used in the previous video, so you can catch up with it there. In the first video, this was covered. This will essentially re-render just that box, and we're just going to use this conditioning into that. So that's now supplying the conditioning. So it's just talking about Marines, where you don't care about anything. There we go, there's our boys, and as you see, they're all quite a lot better. So what we do now, go into Mask Editor, and you probably have to mask this fairly carefully. So I don't mean manically carefully, but I don't think we want to do them as individual figures, and not as a group. You see, it's sorted out the solderiness of them pretty well. We can have all that. I'm not worried about that too much. He's got a bit of a funny face, that one. But you could do several iterations and correct that. I shan't bother now, but it's easy enough to do. So that's him. There we go. So we go and watch that change. There you go. And there we go. 3 figures dropped in. All lovely and nice. Now, some of the expressions here, this fella here is a bit weird. So what if we want to correct that? So his face is a bit rubbish. Or what we could do is, and this is something you can do at any stage, so you could And what it is reloading the last image, which is that one there, back in again. So we just choose file to upload, go to app, temp, and it's the last file. It's that one there. And then we can send it back around again, like so. So we can just crop individual faces out. So run the crop, and you see we've got our new people in there, and we can reduce this down to 256. Now this guy's, that was good, that was just luck. Get him centered. Okay, so we'll change him to soldier. I'm going to put helmet in. And again, so this is running on this prompt, and this time 256 we can go even up to 4 times bigger. Well, we'll do 3 times bigger. If you do too much, it can be a little bit overcooked. Okay, we'll run that. So now you see he's a lot better. He's much more determined. So what we do, mask editor, again, cut round boundaries of things if you can. You don't usually get any problems. But okay, let's have him watch him change. So he's giving us a nervous glance there. There you go. He's much more determined and manly. So, well, now the other faces don't look as good. So what we can do, you guessed it, we can send it round yet again. It's the last one. There we are, determined chap. So we need to go over to the right to get the next chap. Increase X. There he is. Send to him. There we go. And I think we need to say he's wearing a visor. Helmet and visor. We'll cue that. Well, it would cue if I put it to always. Put it to always. Cue it. If you had an odd mouth, this should sort that out. There we go. So that sorted his mouth out. He now looks like normal. And he's got a proper visor on. So we open that in Mask Editor. Oh, this is quite nice. We'll have that. You can alter the mask as many times as you want, really. Go and watch him change. Now, I made an error there. Because that's not going into the original one. So actually this image here must also go into there. It's an easy mistake to make. But so they'll have to rerun. With all these noodles, it can get quite confusing. There he is in the proper one. It doesn't have to rerun because there was no re-render. Okay, so one more face to go. And I think you can see that you could do this as many times as you want. That hand's a bit funny there, for example. You could redo that without a problem. But we won't bother with that just now. So we do the same again. Load in the last generation there. So you can, with this process, practically remake an image if you want. You've got very fine control over, so that won't change, except it'll go to the new guy. And we just want to go across to the X to the next final chap. There he is. And we need to take the visor out. It would probably put a visor on. You could put sunglasses on or whatever you want, really. But there you go. So he's a bit refined. Well, I'll do another one of him. Not sure I like his expression. That's better. Looks a bit more determined. Anyway, I think you can see you can refine it to your heart's content. There we go. There's all our soldiers walking in front of the horrible tank. So we just go, and as you see, our machine has barely changed. It's only been refined in the normal scheme of things, and hasn't gone nasty at all. So that's the way they started off, and you see they've just had just that little bit more of a refine, so that they work better in the foreground. We'll just open that up so you can look at them a bit closer, and there you see that tells a much better story. Okay, so that is that process done, and that's nearly all the boxes covered. Got one more box to cover. Right, so this is almost the last box to deal with, and this is the fairly new Redux, which is a sort of Flux Redux, which is a sort of half an IPAdapter, but it sort of works. So I've made this section twice on account of I had to stop and colour code it so I didn't get confused myself. So how it works is it influences on the conditioning line via an image. So it's doing clip vision encoding, and so if we go to the green one here, and I've got to remember to turn the conditioning, this gets quite confusing. Okay, so what's happening here is we have a load image, then it only looks at 1024 squares, so make it 1024 square. Then the clip vision has a look at it, decides what's there, and that outputs here, and you can control the strength, and then I'm sending it to an average, which we'll talk about what that does in a moment. So if I just run that, this is straight run, and I have to color code everything, because when I tried to make this section last time I got confused completely which of my reroutes was the right one. So if I run that, in theory we should get a version of this. Denoises at 1, so it's text to image, or conditioning to image in this case. There we go. So what we got is quite a good, it's not bad, is it? And that's the other thing, it is very strong. If I drop it down to, say, well, we'll leave it as it is for now, but anyway, so it's very, very strong. So what I can do is to put the original prompt, this one here, back in. So here's the original prompt, and I can use a conditioning average to mix between the two. So if I go down this way, I think the prompt's got a young lady in it. We'll see. I'll just check that. No, it hasn't actually. It's got a walking machine. There we go. So you see it's changed quite considerably. And if we go even lower, and that's the first thing to note about this, it is incredibly strong. And there we have the lady. So that is coming from this prompt here. So this is the, let's get that one out of the way. So there's our lady. And if I increase the weight of this again, and it is so strong, I reckon by 25, she might even be gone at 25. Well, no, she's still there, but a very large machine has appeared. Okay, so we have another way of altering the strength here. We could change the strength of the conditioning to, say, 0.4. It takes a bit to get your head around this, because you end up with 5 or 6 variables, which fries my brain slightly. Okay, so we should have less engine and more sorceress. Seed is unchanged, as you say. Alright, there you are, the machine is gone entirely. So what we'll have to do is increase the strength of this. We'll go 0.6 maybe. It's not very linear. It is quite useful in that it will mix between the elements. Well, as you saw on the previous generation. Oh, no, she's gone again. So we can come down on a bit on the strength here. And at a certain point, you see we've got all of the accoutrements of the lady, but no lady herself. It does make quite a nice image, but at a certain point the lady will return. There she is. So now we've got a lady and machinery. There you go. So what you have to do is balance the strength and the mix of the original prompt. So this one here is mixing the original prompt together, and this one here is making the strength of the clip vision encoding. So if we go, and it is incredibly strong. So if I go up here to 6.5, odds on the lady will vanish again. We should get more machine anyway. There we go, more machine. And a better lady. In fact, a rather nice image. And it is a way of making quite nice images with unexpected mixes. So I haven't had a prompt for this machine. If we go back and look at the prompt, and we're completely working on text to image. So you see the prompt here, there is no information about machinery at all. That is all coming through the conditioning line from Redux, which is quite impressive really. Okay, so that's mixing one layer of Redux, this image, with our existing prompt. But if I take out our existing prompt altogether, so the prompt about the lady, we are not going to get any sorceress. And I run that, just get a version of this machine. There we go. So what you can do is, and as soon as I saw this I thought, oh well, maybe what if? I can mix between 2 images instead. So if we're on see the red line here, the red line, that's why I had to redo the video, was to help with the clarity here. Okay, so now we are mixing lorries and this machine. So, touch wood, we'll get a red lorry in there as well as the machine. There we go. One red lorry with, well, that's a lorry, isn't it? Look at the size of them people. And we're on a wooden table. It looks like we got a whole lot of own table. Is it a model? I don't know. Anyway, so you can see it is quite powerful. We're taking this red lorry and we're mixing it with this machine. So if we want a bit more lorry, so this is, see, it's the averaging between the two. So if we want a bit more lorry, and you can always check the white line, and this as well is mixing the original prompt in actually, so I made a mistake there. This needs to white lines going into the from, so we need to have full conditioning too, and we should have more lorry actually. So we had a quarter of the original prompt going in there. That probably explains the people and such. There we go. So that's just, this is at 1. So the conditioning to here, or the conditioning from, sorry, is the original prompt. So the one about the sorceress. So that is, so we can increase the strength of our lorry by going 0.55. So you see, it's quite interestingly powerful. You could add another one as well. I haven't tried it with 3, but you could. The mixing gets a little bit more complicated at each stage because you have to do a concat to mix the two together. There we go, more lorry, and so forth. So you could come down on the strength of this to 0.3, in which case the lorry will definitely be winning. There we go. So we've still got our machine, we've got our big lorry, and our machine seems to be on the trailer. Let's try another seed. So you get some great things. You have very little control. But it can be a bit dodgy on the quality, but as you see, the quality is pretty good. And it very much depends on the quality of the images going in. Now you see, that's very nice. We've got our machine on the back of our lorry. How could you not like that, eh? Anyway, I haven't pursued this greatly. And then I've got one small thing to do. If we go back to the original arrangement, we'll turn Redux off. This workflow will have all this in there. If you're on SDXL, in this box there'll be an IPAdapter, which does the same thing but with more finesse. So I put this at the end together because it's a little bit similar to the Redux really. You can take 2 prompts, do a conditioning average and mix them together, which I find can produce quite interesting results. Here again we've got the huge machine and the beautiful sorceress in competition. So if we do it at value 1, we will get the sorceress. There she is. At 0, we will get the huge machine. There we go. So what will happen at 0.4? We'll do it and see. It's very rarely at 0.5, halfway. Halfway is either a little above 5 and the change happens over maybe 5-6%. So you don't have a lot of leeway really. But in that 5 or 6%, you can get some nice effects. Okay, so it's still in machine land. But you see look at how the machine has changed. We haven't changed seed. You can change things quite dramatically with the most unlikely balancing prompts. We go to 50. That machine has quite a different quality to the other one. It's gone red because she has a red dress. And here we are. No sorceress, but look at what's happened to our machine. So we want to know at what point does our sorceress manifest? 0.55 maybe? And this is the process you have to go through with this method. So we've got the sorceress's room. With a slight absence, she's popped out to the shops. And there she is. And notice that she is quite a different sorceress than we had on the previous one. And once you found the boundary of the change happens, as I said, over about 5 points. Down to 5.2. Oh, 5.1. And she's gone. So there you go. We can probably bring her back with another seed. But it's a way of modifying. I'm doing a particularly silly one. Sorceresses and huge machines don't really mix together very well. But there we are. We've got the machine hole with the sorceress in, which is a rather horrible generation. You will get more bad seeds and more strange anatomy. But we're very much on the cusp here. So every seed you'll find will be a little bit different. Some will have sorceresses, some won't. Some will have machines, some won't. Some will have both. Well, we've got a very large sorcerer with machinery. Didn't ask for that, but there you go. But again, it's not a terrible generation. So it'll carry on doing sorceress, no sorceress, machine, no machine, etc. Okay, so you see that's quite useful. I use it just to prompts the unexpected, basically. We could perhaps demonstrate that. We'll put a slightly more rational prompt in here, which is a little bit closer to, so if we pop this one in here. So this also has a sorceress, but in a different place. So one is on a staircase. Maybe we can find a slightly different one from that. No, that'll do. We'll make it a bit more different. We'll put a stone case, we'll put it on a mountainside and see how that changes. So we've got one inside and one outside. Well, we should always get a sorceress, whether she's indoors or outdoors, or halfway. There we go. So there she is, she's outside, and as I increase here, she'll get more inside. There you go. And at a certain point, and the interesting stuff happens on that boundary between her being inside and outside. So you'll find at a certain value, between a certain value, usually over about 5 points, it'll jump between the two. So this is just doing inside, so maybe 5, 5, we'll take her outside. There she is, outside. Isn't that good? Okay, so I think that that covers that. These workflows will be in the words underneath, and there's one for Flux and there's one for SDXL, and I hope you have fun with it. Okay, thanks for your attention.